Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Unmatched Style chat session. Today I'm here with Yaron Schoen. You should know who he is. If you don't, you will. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, absolutely. Well, hey, I did some little research on you, and I followed some of your work for a while, and I just wanted to ask you a little bit, for those of us who know you through more recent things. You've redesigned your site a couple times, and it's been featured in our gallery, and we like some of your work. But your work kind of dates. Well, you're welcome. Your work dates back beyond that a little bit. You worked for Fantasy Interactive, didn't you?
Correct.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about how that worked. I've been a fan of theirs for a long time, and didn't know that until just recently that you worked there.
Yeah.
What did you do there?
I was a designer.
Right.
I was basically a designer. I think I joined back in 2005, 6. I can't remember. But I was basically a designer there. I designed a few projects.
Right.
Yeah. It's fun. Yeah.
You were part of the team that did some of the work for EA Sports, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
EA in general.
EA in general.
So we did EA.com, EA Sports. Yeah.
Cool. So, I'm a web designer, run a sort of a small web design company, and I've never worked on a project that's quite as large as I would imagine a big project for like EA Sports or, whatever you would have done there. How does a giant project, like I'm just going to classify it as giant, how does a project like that differ from, say, a smaller one like you probably took on when you were a freelancer, basically?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is it's just a lot more people involved, a lot more departments involved. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like a nice dance between departments and communication.
Okay.
That's the biggest difference, to be honest. But at the end of the day, it's just a site. At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So it's just a longer process for everything, basically.
Huh.
A longer process for wireframing, longer process for design. It's just because it's a little more bulky,
right.
Or a little more pages, basically. But essentially, it's the same. I think the biggest difference would be just the communications between different factors. Huh. Especially when it's a large company, then you have upper management, middle management, lower management. But so it's just a kind of endless.
Right.
Not that they were like that, but I'm not going to badmouth them. But yeah, it's a lot of communications, basically. Right. That's the biggest difference between working with a large company and freelancing, essentially.
So it's just scale, really.
It's scale.
That's interesting.
It's just scale. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is just scale. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a website, just like any other website. It's just more pages.
Yeah, I'm sure there's more to it than that. You're just humble.
No, it really is just that. I promise you. It's just a lot of communications.
Gotcha. So I've done a lot of study on like sign-up forms, and it's sort of like something I love to kind of get into and talk about. And in one of the presentations or write-ups I've done, I've used this really cool-looking sign-up form from Contain, and it was a sign-up form that was horizontal, and around each of the sign-up boxes was like a different color. And that was one of the first places, and this is the main reason why I wanted to track you down when I found out you worked on Contain. Yes. It was one of the first places I'd seen that horizontal sign up, and now I've seen it on Tumblr, I've seen it on Posterous, I've seen it on Squarespace. Why did you do the horizontal thing? I mean, I really want to know.
Just by the way, Contain was a larger project, by the way.
What's that?
Contain itself was a much larger project, actually, than EA, just as a side note.
Wow.
Yeah, just so you know. But
well, I think maybe a lot of people have that same misconception, when they think about an internal project, because that was an internal project for Fantasy.
Yeah, internal projects are actually
bigger,
harder.
Yeah,
or bigger.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, but that's a side note. But the sign-up form, I guess we just wanted to do something different. I remember the CEO there, he kept on telling me he wants the most beautiful sign-up page in the world. So we actually made a lot of iterations on that sign-up page.
Right.
The decisions, I think it was basically, I can't really remember, but I think it was basically we wanted to make it look like there were not a lot of it. In the beginning, he wanted just one input field. nothing. He wanted to make it's just nothing to fill out, basically.
Right.
So I think we came up with the idea of making horizontal to actually create the illusion like there isn't a lot of input fields. Because usually when you sign up, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When it's stacked like that,
yeah.
It may give the impression. At least that's what we thought. It may give the impression.
It does. I mean, when I talk about it, I like to. What I say about it is that it looks really fast. It looks like
exactly. That was the idea, basically.
Yeah. So it worked.
Good.
So do you feel like that was like the first time you'd seen it sort of laid out that way?
Yeah. To be honest, when we did it, it looked nice as well.
Okay.
It was just gut instinct. I was like, this works. Let's do it.
I love that. I love that it was just gut, just like
people don't give enough credit to gut.
Yeah.
There's a lot to it. Yeah.
You and David Carson. Yeah, so that's awesome. So I wanted to talk to the guy who did that, and I was like really happy when I found out you did that. So I've taken us back, I guess, in history there to a while back. So why did you ultimately sort of step away from that?
From agency world?
Yeah, to do your own thing. What was the reasoning behind you doing that?
Well, actually, I moved from agency world to corporate world.
Oh, did you?
To AOL.
Okay.
Yes, I moved to AOL right after Fantasy Interactive. I was kind of tired of working on multiple projects all the time. Like, you do this, finish it, do this, finish it.
Right.
And I was kind of like, okay, I just want to focus on one thing.
Right.
And evolve it.
Okay.
So agency world wasn't just for me anymore.
Okay.
So I moved to AOL, basically, and then I stayed there for around 8 months.
Right.
It wasn't for me, corporate
Right.
life. There was way too many layers of
Right.
bureaucracy there. So I just I called it quits. They actually had I think they had a buyout, basically.
Yep.
And I took that buyout, and I said, "This is great for my startup, but just not for my startup, for my for freelancing. This is a good way to start my freelancing career, where I have this kind of blanket."
Okay.
So I did that, and it was a great time freelancing.
Cool. So what kind of stuff did you do as a freelancer? I mean, let's talk about that a little bit. I mean, we have a lot of freelancers who come here and look for inspiration from the people we talk to.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that going from agency world or then AOL and then becoming a freelancer is kind of a shock. It is, because I mean, I loved it. It's so much freedom, but all of a sudden, from dealing with like National Geographic and AOL and EA, you're dealing with smaller, really, really much smaller scale projects and companies.
Yeah.
It was a shot to the ego. Kind of, was like, oh fuck, I'm doing these small things now. I must admit, but it ended up it was really fun.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I did like work for smaller startups mainly.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, that's basically what I did.
Okay.
Work for smaller startups, and then the slight AOL all of a sudden contacted and Travelocity contacted. But it was mainly smaller projects.
Huh.
So it was kind of good to kind of like mix that up, going back to the roots, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Nice. And you pretty much ran that whole. It was like a one-man design operation.
It was a one-man, but I outsourced as well.
Okay.
I outsourced because I can do like front-end work, right? I can front-end code, but I'm not that good at it at all.
Okay.
I can do the basics. The JavaScript and all that kind of stuff. Definitely not back-end stuff.
Right.
So when that was required, I had to outsource. Obviously, the client knew that I was outsourcing, and I would suggest to everyone to do that.
Well, that's an interesting segue into something I did want to ask you. You recently posted, I think in the past couple of months, I read a blog post that you put out there about designers should be able to code. And everybody loves talking about. Yeah, it's like Apple versus Windows. I mean, but let's talk about it a little bit. I mean, what you said that you think they should. I mean, it's going to be a grief fest because I kind of agree too. But what's your reasoning behind saying that?
Well, so when I started designing for the web, I started a long time ago. And it was like we had tables, right? And I started out actually writing tables, and it was fun. I don't know why. But actually, when I joined agencies, I slowly, migrated to actually just design work. I did not touch code at all because, in agencies it's really divided, like designers, front-end devs, etc.
Right.
So I really focused on only Photoshop. And then when I quit, all of a sudden I'm like, fuck. Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
I was like, damn, I don't know code anymore because it switched. There was the whole standards moving, and I just know tables. I don't know divs, floats. That's
yeah.
kind of weird. So I kind of felt paralyzed. The best thing that I could have done was just relearn HTML and CSS. And that obviously, it helps me understand how I build things in my head before I even start designing.
Right.
Because I know what I can and cannot do. I see a lot of print designers that, they put like something in an awkward place that, it's just going to be such a headache to actually code that and put it over there. Is it really worth the time and aggravation to do those kind of things? So, I mean, it really only helps designers, I think, at least. I mean, you don't have to. I know a lot of people that don't, and they're just fine. They're amazing designers. But, the more you know, the better you are.
Right, in anything. So you describe yourself as a designer, which comes with its own baggage. Like, I'm a wizard of Photoshop, let's just say that. So do you consider yourself a front-end craftsman too, like with the HTML and stuff at this point?
I wouldn't call wouldn't call myself an front-end craftsman, but front-end craftsman. But I don't know. I haven't thought of that actually. It's a good question. And I'm a designer. That's what I am. Definitely. I wouldn't even call myself a web designer.
Right.
I do focus primarily, obviously, on the screen, but
right.
I feel like if I define myself as like a web designer or something like that, it kind of limits my head personally. Like I would I focus on web. But if I'm a designer, I can that opens my mind to actually, let's explore other things as well, print or anything. So
absolutely.
Product design.
I asked the question because your recent iteration of your site is responsive, and
it is
quite beautifully responsive, if I might add.
Thank you. Thank you.
So that's why I lead into that. You made that yourself, and that's not an easy chore. Responsive is hard. I mean, I've tried it; it's difficult.
Yes.
So you did that yourself.
Yes, I stole a few things from Trent Walton.
Yeah, we all steal from Trent.
But I told him,
he doesn't know. Oh, you did tell him.
I was like, psst.
So, what do you think that type of thing is generally doing to website design as a whole? This whole realm of responsive. I mean, what's your take on what it's doing to our brains?
What's doing our good question.
Well, let me set you up a little bit better. I mean, I think it's making us think a lot more about mobile. Whereas it seemed like an elitist designer sort of a thing, and you can disagree with me. To like, I'm a mobile design. Like I'm going to do this stuff, and we're all like, look, we're just designing websites here.
That's the problem with defining yourself as a mobile designer or a web designer or something like that. If you just consider yourself a designer, you need to adapt to anything anyway.
Right.
I would never consider myself only a mobile designer, only this designer, only this designer. It really limits. I mean, but I don't think that answers your question, though.
No, it's fine. I was just looking more for
but like
pick your brain on it.
Responsive design is really, I think it's powerful. I don't know necessarily if it fits every project.
Right.
Right. You need to really consider what you want to do. I mean, it could be, maybe it's better off to just build m.whatever.com.
Right.
I do think that it's pretty powerful stuff, especially for content-related art websites. For example, I created a website for a online. What was it? Kind of like a badgy kind of online badge app kind of thing.
Right. Okay.
And in the beginning, I was like, it was the beginning of the responsive design kind of movement, whatever you call it. And I was like, yes, let's do it. Definitely, perfect. Let's do it. And then when I started designing, I realized is it really worth the trouble to actually kind of, oh, my screen. Sorry.
Are you fine?
Hello?
I see you fine. Oh, you went to sleep. Yeah.
So where was I? So basically, it didn't make sense to put so much effort. It would have been quicker to do a m dot whatever it is .com, and it would have been cheaper for the client, and it just made a little more sense in that particular project. So it really, I wouldn't jump and say, yeah, responsive design for everything.
Right.
That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
You really need to assess the project.
Yeah. I really like this approach to the way you're talking about things, because a lot of times, I'll say it, us designers are sort of like knee-jerk reactioners. You know what I mean? Like, we're really quick to kind of just like, no, I'm this, or this is the answer. And I really think it's way more organic than that. And I really like watching guys like you do work in the wild, basically, because that's your approach, and that's how I think we should be doing it. And that's why I ask you this.
Yeah, it really is always a project kind of based kind of decision for anything. Also for design, for aesthetics, for
right. Yeah.
Technology. It really is everything. So you need to assess.
It's like that. It's like that designer joke where it's like, how many designers does it take to change a light bulb? So the designer says, well, why does it have to be a light bulb? Sort of a deal. So you're at Twitter now. So congratulations. That's cool. I think you went to Brooklyn Beta. I wanted to talk to you about conferences while I have you on the line, because a friend of mine, Matthew Smith in Greenville, I know you went to his Greenville Grok.
Yeah.
And I missed that. And I was very sad for that. And I know you've gone to South by Southwest.
So is this year?
Yeah, I'm trying to go. If he'll invite me. You hear me? So you've gone to South by Southwest a couple of years. So I'd like to just ask you about the three of those and what your opinion of the three different types of approaches to conferences are, and which one you like best. I'm just kidding.
Well, two of my friends are organizing both.
Yeah, I know.
So I like them both. But let's say the first time I went to South by Southwest, I was shocked. It's like, wow, this is amazing. So many people. Oh, this is so fun. Blah, blah, blah. Second time I went, it was like the complete opposite. I just really did not enjoy it at all. I felt it was really, 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 really overly. Let's just say every other person that I talked to there, that random person that I talked to that I didn't know, was kind of like, what do you do on social media?
Oh, yeah.
I have no idea what that is even. So I do, but I mean,
I know
it felt like it's less creators and more marketers there.
Right.
Which is fine. It's just not for me.
Right.
So I was kind of disappointed in South by Southwest. Decided not to go this year even.
Okay.
So that's also it's expensive. It's like why do
it's
that?
Very expensive. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like nah, not for me. I was gonna say fuck it, but then I stopped myself. But I said it now. So.
Well, I mean, I've never been to South by Southwest. I've been doing this for a long time. I've never been to South by Southwest.
You should go
heard
once.
that, but at this point, I keep hearing, well, it's like 4,000 people, and I'm just like, at this point, I don't know if it's something.
4,000? I think it's like
24,000. Yeah. Sorry, it was way low.
That's the difference. It's like 40,000 people in this one. It's just too much.
I have no idea how many people that is. That's how many people that is.
That's the amount of web designers in the entire world. Maybe.
I think so.
I don't know how it's 40,000 people, but it is. And actually, the numbers grew. I understood the numbers. It's higher now. The interactive conference is higher than the music or the film. The number of attendees. So it's kind of like, wow. But Brooklyn Beta and Grok are awesome. That's for me basically. That's the kind of like, a smaller kind of like group of people just talking.
Yeah.
Brooklyn Beta and Grok they're similar, but they're a little different.
Okay.
Brooklyn Beta is still a conference. There's still people that present.
Okay.
There's presentation and whatnot. So it still is a conference. It's just way smaller. It was like 100 people, I think, this year or something. I don't know. Or maybe more. But But
Really?
the amount
Just
of
100 people. That's really small.
100 or 200 at the most.
Wow.
I can't remember. I know last year was 100, but I may
That's
be wrong.
great. Okay.
So yes, I mean it's just, but the attendees there were like amazing. Every one by one, everybody was just like, wow, awesome, fun to talk with you guys. Same thing with Grok. I mean, it was just a way. I don't know how many people were last year at Grok. It was like 30 or something. It was really small.
That's
But there were no talks. It wasn't like there was no presentation. It was just us talking, conversing.
okay.
And he had something called, I forgot what he called it, 10 by 10, 10 by 20, something like that. So
Yeah.
there's a list
Yeah.
of people that, that you can talk for 10 minutes and then answer questions for 10 minutes or something like that. Which kind of made it really kind of like...
okay, so for you, it's more about going and connecting on a friend level and leaving with that, as opposed to just hearing talks and things. Yeah,
because talks usually, I mean, again, it's just my opinion that talks are usually, there's already, the people that give these presentations, they already wrote about them, about the content already exists online.
Right.
And for me to learn things, I'd prefer to read rather than to just sit and listen. That's just how my brain works.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, presentations, unless it's quirky or funny or something, I lose. My attention span is short. So I'd rather talk even to the guy that presents or the girl that presents. And I was like, let's just talk, as opposed to me sitting down for an hour and listening to you.
Right. Huh. Well, that's
just me.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty special when you can create that at a conference. I think
it is.
It's a hard thing.
But you can do that also in South by Southwest. It was just, you need to choose who to talk to, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people that go to South by South. They don't go to they don't even buy tickets to the thing. They just go and hang out and together
a lot of people do that.
At a spot. Yeah. And that's probably what I do.
I was thinking of doing that also, but
you still have to get there.
I have to get there, and
yeah.
I'll wait this year, maybe next year.
Cool. Well, one final question I wanted to ask you. I've seen you tweet this a couple times, and you've written about this, and it's this idea of people who do versus people who don't. I just wanted to try to briefly capture your sentiment there, sort of, where you come from and what you're thinking of whenever you mention that.
Define, so I mean,
and it's something we deal with. Okay, you say you worked at an agency. We all work. A lot of us work places where there's useless management or whatever there is that we perceive.
Yes.
And myself, going through my life, I always put a high value on people who create things. And we're creators. We're essentially artists. We're designers. Whatever we are. That's sort of my take on it. But you said it, and I've retweeted it, and I parroted it. Just wanted to again get your sentiment on it.
As long as the people that don't do anything don't stop for the people that do something to do something. Did that sentence make sense?
Yeah, a little bit.
If the people that don't do anything or just talk or just whatever or interfere with the process of the people that do things, as long as that doesn't happen, I'm fine. I don't care. But I feel that a lot of times that there are a lot of people that build things or try to at least build things, and there's a lot of people that don't, that interfere with that.
Right.
And if it's naysayers or haters or management or whatever, that sucks. It's not cool.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff. People have tweeted and written posts about general negativity cropping up in our industry. I know you've seen that stuff, and I don't want to create a big discussion on that stuff, but I think it sort of leads into what you're talking about there. That it's easy for a lot of people to sort of sit on the sidelines and snipe.
I mean, I do that all. I mean, I'll be.
I do too.
Yeah. I complain a lot.
You think it's just that we're designers?
No, I think it's the easy. it's the easiness of it's easy to complain online now.
Okay.
So and we're hiding behind screens, so it's easy to just like, hey, this sucks.
Yeah.
And have no consequence.
Yeah, I can just ignore you.
And we're also designers, and we like to bitch, but
yeah, we're picky. Yeah.
Picky, but I think it's not only that, because I mean, look at comments online comments. That's why I took down comments on my site. I mean, they were all great, but they,
Yeah.
It was also naysay, like, which is fine, but it's just so easy to complain. Like, sit behind your computer and just complain. I do that a lot. I should stop, but
it's hard.
It's not. It's hard. It's really hard.
Cool. So, what's next for you, man? What are you? I mean, I know you're there at Twitter, but what's your vision here? What are you going for? You just.
I'd like to really help Twitter.
Yeah. Right.
Evolve. But putting that on the side, there's a few things, obviously, but one of them that I'm actually excited about is actually working with my hands. I kind of want to build things with my hands, because I've been designing virtually for the past 10 years or whatever, and I now want to build things. So I signed up actually for a wood shop class.
Okay.
So I may, build stuff. I don't know what, but I kind of want to use my hands, build products.
Right.
I'm really excited about that, actually.
Huh.
I do have a few apps that I kind of, am playing around with kind of on the side.
Right.
Things that, are a problem, that solve a real problem that I have in life. So I'm kind of trying to build some of those on the side. I don't know, but other than that, I'm taking it as it goes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, I can't wait to see some of those apps, man.
I can't wait to release them.
Yeah. Don't forget about finishing them.
No, yeah, that's the hardest.
Yeah, holy moly! And you have a new family, right? You have a new.
Yeah, I do.
A new daughter.
New daughter.
Yeah, new daughter. Congratulations there.
Thank you. It's going to be way hard now to release that thing.
Yeah,
I have no time.
Yeah, but it's worth it, man.
It is. It is worth it.
Well, thank you so much for talking to me. I've been trying to
Thanks
track
for
you
having
down for
me.
a little while, and I want to get you back soon, and maybe even talk you into visiting Columbia, South Carolina one of these days.
Hey, maybe
you've made it to Greenville. You can come.
Go.
Yeah.
That is very true, my friend.
Awesome.
That is very true.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.